Alu, alu, alu. Mm-hmm.
I just want to check the audio on here because
Are we on?
You're on. Yeah, you're on live.
Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Welcome,
just-
welcome.
Hello.
We're just going to gather for a moment. So grab yourself a glass of water or make yourself comfortable. We're going to just talk about mindful recovery and share some mindfulness skills in a moment.
Yeah. So my name is Monty.
I'm Jay.
All right.
So how was your day today?
My day today, the highlight of my day was there was a big rainstorm and I went on the front porch and did a bunch of Qigong.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and there was a roof over my head, but I was still getting wet because it was blowing so hard, but it was warm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after about 10 minutes, I just started really deeply appreciating a lot of things, just feeling tons of gratitude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really a beautiful experience. Qigong is a great way to clear the mind and enlighten the mind. Lighten the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, how was your day?
I was really tired today. I didn't sleep very well. Definitely had like the classic full moon hangover. So spent all day just trying to wake up. I think the highlight of my day was I did a 30-minute meditation, and after that I was able to take a nap. So I feel a lot better now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you fall asleep.
I mean, I think maybe for 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah, that's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah, I felt a lot better when I woke up. Like my eyes weren't on pound each. So
yeah,
nice.
It's interesting. Even the short, brief power nap, like you said, a minute, it still resets the mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I really appreciate about power naps is just like shuts it down just for a minute or 10 minutes or whatever it is, and then just powers back up, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling a little groggy, but definitely refreshed.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to reset.
Definitely.
Reset the mind, which is a lot of what we do with mindfulness, is just working on resetting our minds. Because we get caught in old unproductive habits and patterns that just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah. So we're just gathering, folks. So you could say hello in the chat if you wish. If you have a question you wish us to address, we're going to be, this is kind of going to be a new thing. We're hoping to make this a regular monthly event. Monty started a mindful recovery group in La Crosse, and we're just kind of going with that theme because it means a lot to us. And
it does. It's important. And I think if you look at the term recovery, I think essentially we're all recovering from something.
Agreed.
Or another, and all of we all have challenges. That's one thing I tell all my clients is, listen, we're all in this together. We all have challenges. We all have issues. Let's work together to make this world a better place, or because individually, if we can create more harmony in our own minds, that collectively will create a culture that is more in harmony with, we'll be more in harmony with ourselves and with each other and with nature and the whole thing. So maybe that's what we're recovering from, is just disharmony.
I think you may be onto something there.
Being out of sync.
It can be very simple, right?
Yeah, but it can lead to a lot of problems.
I know physically the word for when your body is in balance is homeostasis. So it's like when the mind is in balance, is that recovery?
Well, you've recovered from being out of balance at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, culturally speaking, we really struggle with, we're talking about being in harmony with things, you know, and we really struggle with definitely not being in harmony with nature, not being in harmony with each other, not being in harmony with ourselves, right? A lot of negative self-talk going on. That's an example of a disharmonious relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something we'll address later. I could even talk about it a bit right now.
Okay.
Okay. So negative self-talk is an epidemic in our culture. And step one to changing that, to changing your negative self-talk, to transmuting your negative self-talk into something that's really positive, is noticing it, right? It's always step one. So then that leads me to talk about metacognition, or meta-awareness, which is awareness of awareness, or cognition of cognition. You see, it's noticing your own thoughts. And mindful metacognition means you notice your own thoughts, but you don't judge them. You don't judge them, you just notice them from a scientific perspective. And you become familiar then with your patterns of thinking. And your patterns of thinking lead to your patterns of behavior, right? And your patterns of behavior lead to your how in harmony you are with everything. You know, I mean, if your behavior is all messed, if your behavior is messed up, it's going to affect your life.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm in the habit of getting into bar fights or something like that, that's a messed up behavior and it's really going to affect me. But I got to look inside my own mind to figure out why that's happening. Right? So that's where it all starts. But as I look inside my mind, I will notice some self-talk going on, because we all do that. We all talk to ourselves, or probably 99.9% of us talk to ourselves, right? There's this internal dialogue thing that happens that's part of being a human, you know, and we make the mistake. One of the classic mistakes we make, it's a human mistake, a cultural mistake, is that we talk to ourselves, but we identify with that voice as being me. So I hear this voice in my head and I'm like, oh, that's me talking. It's like, no, it's not. It's a thought. It's an old habit, but it's not me, because me is, I am not the chattering in my mind, but I am deeply in my mind, right? So if I notice the thinking and separate myself from the chatter, I'm able to quiet it down if I notice it's unproductive. Or I'm able to re-steer it. But step one, like I said, is metacognition, is just noticing it from a mindful perspective, which means not to judge it. Because if we go if we become skillful at listening to our own thoughts and noticing them, but we judge them, then we end up beating ourselves up, right? Because a lot of these thoughts are, I don't know, vile or, you know.
Definitely in my head they are.
Okay. So we learn, we notice them and we learn to quiet them down. And we become familiar. It's like, oh, that old pattern, that's been going on for quite a while. Okay, I'm gonna change that. And every time we quiet it down, we use a mindfulness skill to quiet it down. It's not just willpower. That's one thing I work with is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. So we see the thought, we identify the thought, but then what do? Right? It's not like we just will it out of the way. We go into a mindfulness skill and shut it up. And that could be a mantra, perhaps, or it could be power breathing. And we'll be going over this stuff this evening. Different techniques you can use to effectively quiet down the mind or re-steer the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different techniques, the thank you practice, etc. And like I said, we're going to be going over those. You look like you were trying to say something.
Well, I think now is a good time to introduce what we're doing again. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I am Jay, and this is Monty.
Yeah, I'm Monty.
And we are joined here with Jeremy. Thank you for helping us do this today. And we are bringing to you Mindful Recovery, which is going to be like our little show that we do on Facebook once a month. So we'll be sharing the next show soon. So what is mindful recovery to me? I'll say what mindful recovery is to me first. So I feel like recovering from something is really easy when it's visible, right? Like you cut your arm and then you go get stitches and then you can watch it heal, right? It's easy to see that recovery, but not all recovery is easy to see, and yet it can take forever. And it can be sped up by being mindful. And that's our goal, is to share with you how you can be mindful in your recovery, whether that's from addiction, trauma, injury, illness, any kind of wound. And that's my opinion on mindful recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, as I mentioned previously, one way that I tend to look at recovery is just recovering from being out of sync, being out of harmony with life itself, with life being a human being. Let's face it, it's not easy being a human. We're highly complex. We have these complex minds. We don't even know what our minds are, and it's easy for us to get out of harmony because there's lots of forces that push us out of harmony, that try to exploit us. Where we grow up in just feeling like, oh, if I just have this and this and this, I'll be happy. And oh, I'm supposed to dislike those people and those people. And then, so we have all this training going on that leads to like this disharmonious kind of existence in our own minds. And so through various mindfulness training exercises and through skillful metacognition, which is watching your own thoughts, we're able to, I believe, become more and more in harmony with actually being an effective and balanced human, becoming a person who really can make positive changes in our culture, and becoming a person who you can walk into a store and just be in this place of harmony and awareness and balance, and everybody kind of feels it around you, whether they notice it or not. Everybody just feels a little better, and that's the kind of power we have as humans. I mean, so we're going to be working with our minds, we're working with our bodies, we're going to be working with our breathing, we're going to be working with cognitive tools to help improve the functioning of our minds.
Okay.
Yeah. All with the idea of recovering from being
what I feel would be a really nice thing to touch on is your concept of the primary addiction, or I can't remember the words that you used, but I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, well, the difference between primary and secondary addiction, and the idea being that the primary addiction always lies in the mind. It lies in the mind. It's the mind obsessing over whatever we're addicted to. I mean, and we can be addicted to a lot of things. We can be addicted to substances. We can be addicted to TV. I can be addicted to gossip. I can be addicted to exaggerating. That's an addiction. Right? There's a lot of different addictions out there. I could be addicted to food.
Judgment.
I could be addicted to judgment. I could be addicted to beating myself up in my own mind, just hammering myself. And so that's always, to me, that's the primary addiction. That's the primary addiction. The secondary addiction is the behavior that follows the primary addiction. So if my mind is obsessed, let's say with meth, and then the behavior that follows is that I seek it out. I seek out that substance.
Okay.
And
so the secondary addiction is not necessarily the substance, but rather the desire for the substance?
No, the secondary addiction is using.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's seeking. A behavior. Like if I'm addicted to alcohol, the secondary addiction is actually drinking. Going fine. I'm like, okay, my mind is like, okay, I want to drink. I want to drink. I want to drink. I want to drink. So my behavior, I stop at the bar and I get out and I have a drink.
Okay. Well,
you see,
so this is what I was thinking you were meaning.
Okay.
I was thinking that the primary addiction or the primary issue is a feeling of abandonment or something like that. And then the secondary issue is the addiction to a substance to kind of calm that feeling of abandonment. That's not what you meant?
No, the primary addiction is just the obsession with whatever we're addicted to.
Okay.
Maybe we're obsessed with this because we feel abandoned, sure.
Okay.
Or maybe we're obsessed with it just because we're obsessed with it, because we're in the habit of using it over and over and over and over. Okay. So the cause of the obsession is what you're talking to, and I'm sure that's. Okay. I'm sure there's multiple reasons.
Yeah.
That people are, even though a really interesting study, the rat.
Rat park.
Or the mouse park, yeah.
It's rat park.
In the rats, that if a rat was in a cage all alone, and then he has 2 water bottles and one has cocaine in it, it just keeps hitting the cocaine till it dies. But then they gave these rats like a really sweet setup. It's like a big party, and there's like slides and little pools of water, and like opposite, people. There's a lot of like
They're not alone.
No, they're dating or whatever rats do.
Whatever.
So they're having a great
They're
time.
dating for sure.
Yeah, they were having a great time, And then they noticed that they had two choices: the cocaine water or the regular water, and they chose the regular water.
Uh-huh.
So the substance, at least in that case, well, it just kind of shows that if your life is, again, in harmony with things. I mean, because those rats were like living the high rat life, just in harmony and just like, ooh, and they're like happy and, and
they're happy. That's the main point.
Yeah.
No stress.
Yeah, less stress.
Just pleasure and joy and.
Yeah. So those rats were just getting high off of life and didn't really, at least that's according to this one study.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, for a study to really be effective, you need to be able to replicate it over and over and over and over again. So I'm sure they probably have with that study. I'm not sure.
For me, I feel like it's really important to focus on the trauma or focus on the cause, because if that's the root, then it doesn't matter how many times you go to treatment or how many times you abstain or use your willpower. That original cause is still festering, wounded, and untended to. So for me, I feel like recovery cannot leave out trauma and the cause of it, because we have to get to the root. And in our human world, where is there rat park? I don't know if there is rat park for humans. There's too much stress. There's too many expectations. We're too cognitively caught up in what we wish our life was like. And I also feel like even if we had all the money in the world, then we'd still be dealing with the addiction of gluttony. So there's still this thing going on that is beyond that rat park experience.
Yeah. Well, even money itself can be addictive. I've seen pictures of some, like the richest man in the world, like 80 years ago, and he looks like a wreck. He just looks completely insane.
Yeah.
Because that's his addiction. He's like, I need more, gotta do that, and exploit all these people and wreck my karma to get more money. And then
I think that goes to the harmony. So how do we get to harmony?
Yes. Yeah. Basic human harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what it does boil down to. And our culture does not, at this point at least, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, there's a lot in our culture from the time we're little to the time we're old. There's a lot of people, a lot of forces trying to exploit us. Really. You got to buy this stuff to feel good. You got to look this way to feel good. You got to drive this car to feel good. You got to, whatever it is. You have to dislike those people. You have to, there's all these rules that they put us in this little box. And the human, to be a full human in harmony with the universe, you need to, boom, that mind's got to be open. You have to see what we can humanly see, and it's just it's a challenge to move in that direction. But it's I would say the more we move in that direction, the more we're moving towards the human rat park, right?
So would you like to go over a skill that people can utilize?
Want to do Q&A at the end, or do you want to answer questions as we go?
Oh, we can answer as we go.
Yeah.
So So James asks, is stress, fear, and anxiety real, or is it words of judgment we keep in our minds?
Can you say it one more time?
James says, is stress, fear, and anxiety real, or is it words of judgment we keep in our minds?
I would
That's
say
a good question.
anxiety is real. Anxiety is this energetic force that like hovers over our culture, and yeah, it feeds off of fear. And
I think fear, the emotion of fear is real,
yeah,
but what we're afraid of may not be.
well, the truth of it is that we can reduce our fear and anxiety and depression through this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So we can reduce it vastly through training, through
Mm-hmm.
training our minds and training our bodies
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
becoming more in harmony,
And
becoming more that full human.
being able to discern, is this fear I'm feeling valid? Am I in danger? Or is this a lace of the past on the present?
Yeah, I mean, the fear thing is like it's a big question. I mean, am I in danger?
Yeah.
We're all in danger. All
I know. I was
there might be a
gonna say that.
meteor. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with our culture? And I mean, so there's always that,
Mm-hmm.
And for me at least, the antidote to fear is just more of a spiritual outlook
Mm-hmm.
on life. It's like, oh,
I agree.
100 years goes by like
absolutely.
that. Look at a timeline of 10 million years, and we're like this little dot right there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just we're from my perspective, we're spiritual beings having this really temporary human experience,
Yeah.
and it just kind of helps me reduce fear. But that being said, another thing that helps me a lot reduce fear is proper breathing. Because if I'm in a situation out in the world and I feel threatened, or I'm in a potentially threatening situation, the habit is to like hold the breath or to shallow breathe. And when you start doing that, what happens is the heart rate starts getting faster. And then you start feeling that adrenaline, and you have this anxiety thing happening. But we can counter that through working with our breath, working with our posture, working with cognitive skills that help to clear our minds.
I feel I've been using this analogy for a little while now. It came back to me maybe a week ago in one of my live meditations, which are an insight timer, 8:30 a.m. Central Time on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And there I go over the astrological aspects of the day, and we weave that into a meditation for guidance. And those meditations, avoid the conversation beforehand, are usually available on Facebook and YouTube many weeks later, but they do make their way out. One thing that I've been talking about lately is the Heart Mind Center, and what we are trying to do is to supplement people's faith. So whether you go to a church or a temple or an ashram, or you worship or pray on your own, and you have whatever religion that you're working with, the Heart Mind Center is here to give you tools and skills and provide space and community and connection to deepen faith in whatever way. Because in my opinion, faith is the way to counter the fear and anxiety and the worry. Because if we have faith that we're greater than this human body that we've had the opportunity to walk on this earth with, and 100 years goes by in a flash, then it kind of takes the weight off and the pressure off, and it doesn't feel as serious or as dire,
Mm-hmm.
because the one thing that we know as humans, the one fact that is pretty much guaranteed, is there is 100% chance that we will die. So how do we deal with that? And that's where all the different religions come in, is how do we deal with the fact that we will die, and how do we enter that state of passage gracefully? So, every religion has its own way of dealing, or of guiding us as humans into that place of acceptance and peace and grace, and fosters the faith so that we can have that peace. So that's what I've been really thinking about lately, is how do I strengthen my own faith? How do I help other people with their faith, so that when we have these fearful, anxious, worrisome experiences that pop up for us, that we can counter it with our skills and with a feeling of it's going to be okay. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, and that being said, though, it's also nice to have some breath work techniques.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm saying,
it's-
like, you use all that,
Yeah.
and you have this feeling of it's okay, because you have the faith that you will have grace in whatever situation is presented to you. Whether you're actually in danger and you're running from a dog, or,
Yeah. Well, a lot of anxiety too, it just emanates from our minds because we overthink. And just the act of overthinking, that's another thing our culture really promotes, because we're ingesting so much information and data constantly into our minds, and our mind is processing this information, and we ingest more processes, and we get caught up in this cycle of just ingesting and processing information, and our minds are not designed to be like a computer. There's part of our mind that is just supposed to be in a place of stillness. I mean, we're as humans, for most of humanity, we've been like walking through the woods looking for, an animal, being really quiet and present. And just recently, we're in this information age that just like information and misinformation just like pouring at us all over the place, and we don't know what's up, and our minds don't know, and our minds are just frantically trying to figure things out and processing information. And if there's too much of that going on, we naturally go to a place of anxiety. Naturally, agitation, anxiety. And then when we need a break, we sink into depression, because our mind needs to stop thinking for a bit. But if it just sinks down there, it's in a depressed state. And so a lot of people get stuck from, going back and forth from anxiety, depression, and but we can counter that. And one of the first steps really is noticing, again, using that metacognition, and noticing when you think too much. Because it's one thing that they don't really teach us in school, is that we shouldn't think too much, because if we're thinking all the time, our minds get stuck in ruts, and our thinking is less effective than if we think and then have a little break, and we're in a state of awareness, and then we think, and then we have another little break, state of awareness, think, break, think, break. If we get into that habit throughout the day, at the end of the day, the mind is working much more effectively, and we have less anxiety, less depression, less, and we've accomplished more. Did you ever hear this writer's block? Where you can't think of what to write. You're black, and you just keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And the way to get out of writer's block is just find a state of awareness. And then out of that state of awareness, a new idea will emerge a lot of the time. So having this skill to find those moments of peace, because that's what awareness essentially is. It's a moment of peace. It's, here I am. And the mind is quiet and you feel content. Ooh. Then you go back to analysis, because those are the two states of the waking mind: analysis and awareness. And if you don't have enough awareness, you're going to be doomed to having more anxiety, more agitation.
Do you think that awareness is naturally embodies acceptance?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because you're accepting the moment for what it is instead of complaining about it in your mind. I don't accept this moment. This moment's really a drag. Those people over there are bugging me, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe that, things never work, whatever. It's like all this chatter that's going on. And then if my mind is chattering and judging others, then guess what? When I make a mistake, boom, it judges me. How can you be so stupid? Blah, blah. And it's like this cycle of just like hell that we can break free of by finding little moments of peace throughout the day, and when we're analyzing, when we're thinking, not being judgmental, but being discerning and seeing the light. My suggestion is to just try and see the light in everyone, because we're all of us. If we're still kicking, we're amazing. We're a miracle.
Yeah, totally.
We've beaten the odds. What's the secret? You could ask that to anybody, because they know somewhere. Yeah, right. We're still here. You know how many times all of us. Yeah. We've like dodged many bullets. And so we're all miracles. We're all miraculous. We all have the light in us. And we're just, like I said, we all have issues too, though. And which doesn't mean I want to hang out with everybody. If somebody's like, dangerous towards me, I don't want to, like, obviously.
Right. That's a discernment. It's like we can love everyone.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we become a doormat or.
No, exactly.
So.
Because we love ourselves too.
Right.
And we have things to accomplish in this life. And we love ourselves, and we're like, but yeah, that's an interesting idea, to love everyone. And that's kind of gets back to some of Jesus's teachings.
Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and like it's really goes across many paths, this idea of loving everyone. And
yeah, well, I think Buddha would say compassion towards everyone, which is very similar. And one of my favorite teachings of Jesus is love your enemies, which is like, that's a radical philosophy. Radical. And if we could just move a little bit in that direction.
Oh, that reminds me. I can't show you a picture or anything, but we were looking into the word Shen, because Shen is the Taoist term for the heart, mind, spirit, consciousness. And that's the name of our musical entity inside of the Heart Mind Center. So we decided that we're going to get a tattoo soon. We'll show you next time. And we're going to get a tattoo of Shen. So we looked it up, and then we were like doing all this research one night, trying to figure out what is Shen, or what is it? We know what Shen is, but what does it look like? And so then it's two Chinese characters, and the first one stands for radical.
Oh.
It's like a lightning bolt kind of looking thing, and it means radical. So I just think it's interesting that you say it's like this radical connection to the heart, mind, spirit, and it just kind of creates this woven thing. So I think it just that's what I thought of when you said radical.
Okay.
I'm like, oh yeah. It is radical.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's worth moving in that direction
Mm-hmm.
towards that type of radical belief.
Mm-hmm. Or being
Yeah.
that radical presence.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be
Right.
present, even though the collective conscious is ruminating, fearful, and anxious. I'm going to be present and kind and helpful. And
Yeah. Well, there is that part of the collective that is like that as well.
yeah, I agree.
Compassionate, caring, loving,
Mhm.
aware, peaceful, content.
I guess what I'm trying to say was like, do you feel that, okay, so there's different collective consciousness, yes, but
Yeah.
then there's kind of like an overwhelming vibe. Do you feel that the overwhelming main collective conscious is there, or do you think it's like a radical move to pull yourself out of it and join kind of more of a minority vibe of presence and love? And
I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like the more the Shen vibe, even though there's maybe less people involved with that
right,
vibe,
it is stronger.
yeah, because it's like empowered by the universe.
Gotcha.
Perhaps, while the lower vibe, so that's a way of looking at the collective consciousness, is there's a higher and a lower. That's like a real simple way of looking at it. Yeah, the higher vibe, if you can be the, I mean, and we all go back and forth too, by the way.
Yeah.
I definitely am not in the higher vibe all the time, because I'll sink into bam, fear, anger, whatever, resentment, boom, back up. But I notice it. I use my meta awareness, my metacognition. I notice when I'm in that lower energy collective, and I do what I can, and I'll do a few rounds of power breathing, and I'll bring myself out of it, for example, or I'll start saying thank you in my mind. That's another excellent way to get out of the lower collective. And just as a side note, I'd like to mention that my belief that consciousness creates, I mean, I'm a believer in string theory as far as physics goes. And consciousness creates strings of energy, right? And your strings of energy, they're either going to be in that higher vibe or that lower vibe. And wherever they go, they're going to start interweaving with other strings of energy from people all around the world. So we can get stuck. In other words, we can get stuck in that lower one. It's sticky. Yeah. Or we get up higher and we get stuck in that one. But it's just interesting to ponder the idea that our minds actually create physical strings of energy that
well, I mean, we feel it in group meditation. Like every time that we have group meditation, especially on Insight Timer, if you haven't checked it out, you should. Insight Timer, we're all across the world gathering to meditate, and you can feel the strength of it.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. I think we might be having a technical issue.
All right.
Oh, did I hit it somehow? Or did it die? Hello. There we are.
Okay.
We're back.
All right.
So I think maybe we should do a skill or two.
Yeah. Well, yes. Techniques that perhaps can enable us to, when we're stuck in the lower collective, to bring us up to the higher collective, or techniques you can use when you're noticing negative self-talk and you want to quiet that down, or techniques when you're noticing rumination, which is your mind just rolling. Yeah. So what skills would you like to work on?
Well, you've mentioned a couple already. You mentioned optimal breathing, power breathing, and thank you. So,
okay, well, how about
touch on those?
Yes. How about I start with thank yous, because it's like by far the simplest
for sure.
practice, and it's super effective. It's super effective for most people, And
I think my mic's dying or dead.
Oh, that's all right, we're gonna fix it there.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, it must have died.
All right. Okay. So the thank you practice. I love this practice. It's the simplest mindfulness practice, or one of the simplest, and it's 100% cognitive. So it's just in your mind, and because of that, you can use it anytime, anywhere, any place. You could be super tired, you know, in a difficult situation, whatever it is. You can use this practice, and what it simply is just repeating the phrase "thank you" in your mind. Now, it seems kind of strange. It's like, I don't have anything to be thankful for right now, you know. But the idea is you use it during good times, during bad times, and during neutral times, right? And you practice in the neutral. When you're feeling just like regular, you just want to say the phrase thank you and say it at least 100 times a day. Thank you, in your mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you'll begin to notice that the more you say thank you in your mind, or when you say thank you in your mind, it's fairly likely your mind is going to start seeking reasons to fulfill that statement. So when I start saying thank you, my mind starts seeking reasons to be thankful. So it puts my mind more in a place of gratitude than, for example, when I went to the dentist, getting my tooth drilled, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to say thank you. This is really a drag. I'm not going to do it. But then I got about halfway through, and I was like, okay, let's try this practice, see what happens. And I start repeating the phrase thank you in my mind. My tooth's getting drilled, and my suffering went from probably an 8 to a 4, because my mind started seeking reasons to be grateful. And it was easy. It's like, oh, I'm able to have my tooth drilled. I'm so grateful, you know? So that's an example of using it in a difficult situation. Another time I use this skill, I basically try and use it every morning before I even get out of bed, because my habit in the past has been my mind, the personality aspect that is prevalent first thing in the morning is I start like whining to myself, kind of. I don't want to get up. I start mulling over problems, try to go back to sleep. But now when I wake up, pretty much the first thing I just start repeating the phrase thank you in my mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I just find myself getting up. And then I find myself being grateful that I have a roof over my head. And then I find myself being grateful that I'm able to walk to the bathroom, and just, so it's a super potent but simple practice. Super simple, but super effective. And another technique, that's a technique you can use when you're engaging in negative self-talk. For example, how could you be so stupid? And what are you thinking? And it's like, boom, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, wait a minute, it just kind of stuns you out of the if you're stuck in a negative state, it can like bust you free of that. And it's so easy. It's just the most difficult part is just getting into the habit. So with my clients, I suggest they try and say thank you at least 100 times a day, just to get into the habit, and then just try to apply it. You apply it during difficult times. You can apply it during good times to accentuate the moment. I like doing that. And just say it when you're feeling neutral as well. So that's one mindfulness skill that I truly love. I love teaching it. I love practicing it.
And we have a recording of the thank you practice It's called Manifesting Soundscape. It is on Facebook, YouTube, Insight Timer, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
The manifesting soundscape. Because that's the thing too. I mean, there are plenty of teachers who promote the idea that the way to manifest is to be in this place of gratitude. You really awaken that grateful personality aspect. Boom. You know, and it's not always easy to be grateful, right? But it's worth training the mind. And the more we're able to be in that place of gratitude, slowly we begin to see that we're manifesting things that fulfill that gratitude. You know, if we're in a difficult relationship, perhaps an abusive relationship, you know, just saying thank you in my mind is going to help empower me to separate myself from that relationship. It's an empowering practice. It's not a practice that that keeps us stuck in old ways. It's a way of busting free from old unproductive habits of thinking and behavior. Yes. So that's the thank you practice. And another practice, you said you wanted me to talk about a few practices.
Yeah, I think we'll probably share a couple more thought practices, see if there's any questions, and then move on with our evenings.
Okay. Well, I guess another one of my favorite practices is power breathing. And power breathing is a very kind of intensive workout, but you can do it while you're lying down, sitting down. It's a breathing exercise. And I love this practice, and just psychologically speaking, is one of the most effective ways of busting out of rumination, of quieting the mind, of shifting out of obsession, right? Yeah. What?
Should we sit?
No, I'll stand. But if you're at home and you want to practice this, sit down or lie down. And we'll just do 2 rounds of power breathing. Let me describe it to begin with. It's breathing in through the mouth, kind of a deep breath in, and then exhaling, just a shallow exhale through the nose, like that. And we pick up the pace a little bit. And what we're doing is we're going to pound the oxygen into our system, into our brains, into our bodies, into our muscles through this breathing. So we'll take, let's say, 20 breaths. I do have a regular class on Insight Timer on power breathing and psychology. So that's something, if you're into this, you might want to check it out. Insight Timer is just a free app. And just look up the Heart Mind Center on it. But we'll just go over 2 rounds, two brief rounds of power breathing. And also, if you're interested in it, you can look up Wim Hof, because he has a very similar technique to this technique that I'll be teaching. It's a little different, but similar. But as I mentioned, this is a great thing to use if you find your mind obsessing on something, ruminating on something, just beating yourself up, whatever it is, you want to quiet the mind down. Power breathing is a great way of doing that. Power breathing also builds your body creates more red blood cells in your body. So your oxygen transference system is improved. It strengthens your lungs, which is a great thing to be doing nowadays, or any time really, you know, strengthening the lungs, strengthening the heart. And it builds prana, it builds chi, which is something Western medicine has no idea about, of what prana is, or what chi is, or how it can be helpful in healing, but essentially it's the basis of being healthy, having strong and fluid prana or chi. And this is one way to build that particular energy, that health-giving energy. So through this practice, you build vitality. You build vitality, and it puts your mind in a place of relaxed strength. That being said, let's just try 2 rounds. You can follow along if you want. Sit down, lie down, just get comfortable. You may get a little dizzy. That's okay. Just don't get up real quickly afterwards. Just take it easy. And like I said, we're going to be breathing in through the mouth, out through the nose. And we'll string a bunch of breaths together, and then we'll do a breath hold. And then we'll do that again. We'll do 2 rounds. So yeah, just have fun with this, and let's begin. Just breathing in through the mouth. Just a light exhale through the nose. One more breath. Breathe in all the way. Exhale 10% and hold. Just feel the buzzing in your body. Slowly exhaling. Notice how relaxed you feel. Breathing in, hold. Exhale. That's 1 round. Round number 2. Just keep the breathing graceful, fluid. One more breath. Breathe in all the way. Exhale a little bit. Hold. Slowly exhale. Breathe in, hold. And exhale. Nice job. Now, if you practice that, just take note. How do you feel right now? How does your mind feel? How does your body feel? This practice can be very habit forming, which really, that's one of the keys, just let's be addicted to the right things.
Okay, yeah, that makes me thirsty too. So do we have any questions out there? Someone have any
James says that he shares thank yous throughout the day with many who have already gone to higher level of existence.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Thanks for being here, James.
Yeah, for sure.
God.
So what mindfulness skill would you like to
Well, I guess I'll introduce Bhakti meditation, which is chanting. And thank you is a Bhakti meditation. It's just in the English language, and that's awesome too. I'm not sure. Should I step forward? Okay.
Yeah.
I know I don't have my mic on anymore. It pooped out. So, Bhakti meditation is devotion. Bhakti meditation is devotion to that connection to the spiritual world. Really, there's no way to get around that other than if the spiritual world is an uncomfortable thought, we can be connected to our higher self. That's another way to look at this bhakti devotion. And the mantra that I've been working on is Hare Krishna, also aka also known as the Maha Mantra. And it's very classic. I heard from my teacher, Achyuta Baba Das, that 60% of India works with this mantra, or works with this vein of mantra, the Krishna mantras. And so Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And how he uses thank you is how I use Hare Krishna. So right away when I wake up, I start chanting Hare Krishna. And sometimes I'll have a challenging / crisis on my hands, and I'm having a really hard time maintaining any kind of balance or homeostasis, and my anxiety is through the roof and I completely forget. And then I'll remember and I'll start chanting again. And it helps me so much. So I recently hit 40 days, I think it was yesterday, of doing this every day for a minimum of 108. 108 is a classic bhakti number. When you see someone wearing a mala with a bunch of beads on it, it looks like a rosary, except it's different. It has 108 beads on it, and it's supposed to match up with 108 meridians of the body. And so I have found from my own experience that when I do 108 quietly in meditation with someone else, especially with the mala, by 108, I'm so high. I have to really take some time before. I wouldn't want to drive after doing it. That's for sure. I get a little too high on mala meditation. So I'll just do it a few times just so you can feel it. And I would say I'm about to put it out on YouTube and Facebook, but it is already out on Insight Timer and Spotify as an audio. And Monty and I do it, and he's really into the 5/4 rhythm. So we have it in the 5/4 rhythm on our own personal version. But when I'm doing it on my own, I don't put it to any rhythm. I just do it. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's just like a little example. One thing, different mantras have their different meanings, their different intentions, and the Maha Mantra is meant to help you open your heart and connect to the higher realms. So that's what I'm working on until September 1st. I'm doing 120 days in a row. And so far, so good. That's the skill that I basically share with everybody who will listen, because that's what I'm really diving deep into right now. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone for stepping in here and hanging out with us for a little bit. Yeah, we started this nonprofit, and we're pretty excited about it. We're 501c3 applied for at this time, so it's all almost all official. It's definitely in the works, and we just really, I've been working with a friend of mine. We like to just hang out and talk about faith and what is it and all of that good stuff, and she was really getting me to hone my own faith, and I realized that that's really what it comes down to, is the Heart Mind Center is this supplemental community that goes with whatever you got going on. So we're just grateful for all of you for hanging out with us today, this evening. This is definitely a different way of doing it. This is our first time doing this in a while. And I just want to thank Jeremy again, and thank Monty, and thank you for being here. And do you have any other things you'd like to say?
No, just thanks for being here, and check us out on Insight Timer, or our podcast is called Mindflow Radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, if you go to Spotify and look up Mindflow Radio, or any place where you can get a podcast, even Pandora, look up Mindflow Radio and you'll find us there. And I've also been posting meditations there, so it's kind of cool. All of it's audio, and I'm doing my darndest. It takes some time and effort, and definitely knew it at all, but yeah. We'd like to encourage anyone who wishes to go to our website and join our email newsletter, which is called The Path newsletter, and our website is www.theheartmindcenter.org. Okay, thank you, Jeremy. He's on it. And if you ever were to want to donate, there is a donate button there too. And we know it works because someone else donated too. We'll be back in a month. And if you were to want us to contemplate something in specific related to mindfulness skills or mindful recovery, please send us a message and we'll definitely include it in our next show.
Yeah. Take care.
Thank you, 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 thank you.